Pro-revenge. The sheriff thought he won until the library said otherwise. Before I begin, it is a lengthy story, but it is a funny one. Since it is second-hand, take it as you will. As my title states, this is about an ex-coworker from a job many years ago when he was in his teens, so the late 1950s to early 1960s. He shall be known as M. M grew up in a small town. When I say small, I mean one traffic light, a gas station, a diner, a post office, and a couple of other things, as well as a library. This factors in later. M and his buddies were bored. They did not have much to do in town, and the next bigger town was an hour's drive one way. Knowing his age, it was uphill both ways. So they were, as teens with cars, bored. They decided to go to the library. They found a book, and in this tome, they found the perfect nighttime activity. Giddy with excitement, I am embellishing since I do not know for sure, they gathered their supplies. Cue nighttime. M and his friends got into their cars and started driving down the roads, crisscrossing through the small town, making a lot of racket, nothing dangerous, and they were driving below the speed limit. About an hour later, the one sheriff for the town pulled the guys over and gave them tickets for disturbing the peace and a summons to appear in court. They stood before the judge, known now as Jay. Jay read the case details and asked how they pleaded. M had been nominated as the speaker for the group and informed Jay as such, with his friends agreeing. M said, "Your Honor, my friends have elected me to speak on their behalf. Before we go further, may I ask a question?" Jay replied, "Proceed." M asked, "When we enter our plea, may I explain why we did it?" Jay responded, "Absolutely." M said, "Well then, Your Honor, for the charge of disturbing the peace, we plead guilty since we were in fact disturbing the peace. But, Your Honor, we had good cause." The judge was equal parts irritated and intrigued. Jay said, "Okay, I need to hear this. Proceed." M continued, "Thank you, Your Honor. Essentially, we are both guilty and innocent. Guilty because we did what it claims on the ticket. We are innocent because what we did is actually a law." Jay responded, "Come again?" M explained, "Well, we were in the library and found a copy of the laws for the town. Inside of it, we found this law. All horseless carriages must drag 8 feet of logging chain with links of 3/4 of an inch behind itself at night." Jay said, "Clerk, go to the library and bring this book." A few minutes later, the clerk brought it before the judge. Jay said, "Show me." M replied, "Give me a moment, sir," and paged through until finding the page. M said, "Here, Your Honor." The judge looked at it, and sure enough, there was, in fact, a law describing what M claimed. Jay said, "These charges are dismissed, but do not do it again because it will not be in this book." Sorry for the lengthy post, but I'm riding the train into work and had time to type it out, on my cell phone, by the way. But I did warn you. Related comments. Comment. Old laws also mean you can get caught for being drunk in charge of a horse. Author. That is a valid point, but what if the horse was drunk but the rider was sober? I am definitely not advocating this at all, but what would the ticket be besides cruelty to animals? As for me, this story is very interesting and evokes a lot of emotions that are just waiting to burst out. If so, don't hold back and write what you think in the comments, and we'll move on to the next story. Pro-revenge. Homeowners Association tried to fine me $4,000. They regretted it big time. I am posting this now because I no longer live in the house or neighborhood, but at the time I lived in a lovely cookie-cutter neighborhood with a homeowners association. This was one of those neighborhoods where they finished about 100 homes in the span of a few weeks, and it was common to see 8 or 10 moving trucks on any given weekend. The neighborhood went from a ghost town to filled in literally 1 month. In Florida, most homeowners associations are required to use certified mail when notifying homeowners of violations. My homeowners association took this a step further, requiring that all notifications to the board be through certified mail. Received a violation? Respond in certified mail. Requesting a hearing? Certified mail. Want the bylaws? Certified mail. Now, this last one might strike you as odd because how would you know to request the bylaws by certified mail if you did not already have the bylaws, you might ask. Let us put a pin in that one for now, because upon moving in, they were kind enough to provide the covenants, conditions, and restrictions outlining what we could and could not do, but not the bylaws that told us how to handle violations and complaints. So I moved in and everything was great at first. That is, until about the third month when there was a big packet taped to my door. A notice of intent to lien. The packet explained that I was delinquent on a number of violations, many of them repetitive. On the list were things like not keeping the garbage cans out of sight, which we kept on the side of the house like most neighbors, standing water between the sides of the homes, a grading issue I was fighting with the developer over, parking one of the vehicles in the driveway but over the sidewalk line, bushes not trimmed appropriately, unapproved modifications to the doorway, installing a Ring doorbell camera. The list went on, but it totaled $4,032.12 for violations, late fees, and legal fees. I immediately emailed requesting more information and did not get a response. I did this for a few days before sending admittedly hostile emails threatening legal action, to which I finally got a response indicating that all communications regarding violations would only be addressed via communication methods approved in the bylaws. I requested a copy of the bylaws. The response? All requests for the bylaws must be submitted via approved communication methods as per the bylaws. At this point, I was about to go postal, but if Edmond Dantes could wait 14 years for revenge, I could take a breath and figure this out. The notice gave me 45 days, and it had only been a couple of days. I had time to figure this out. A little-known fact about developers and homeowners associations in Florida: the developer drafts the initial covenants, conditions, and restrictions, bylaws, and legal documents, then hands them off to the board. My developer, whose name starts with D and ends with a word that sounds like schmorten, was already on my bad list for a number of issues, including the improper grading. When I emailed my contacts requesting a copy of the bylaws, I don't think they wanted to add to the growing list of issues I was vehemently emailing them about already, and I had a copy within minutes. That is when I found the certified mail language. Now the wheels were turning because it stated all communication was to be by certified mail. Each violation was to be filed separately and delivered by certified mail. Everything. I had 8 unique violations, plus repeat violations over a period of 9 weeks. At a minimum, I should have received about 22 notices via certified mail at around $7 each. Cue malicious compliance. My revenge, malicious compliance, was two-pronged. My morality has developed to a point where if you want to wrongfully take from me, I am willing to spend just as much as you want to fight you. They wanted $4,000 from me. I was willing to spend a good amount of that just to mess with them. I took off 2 days from work and prepared a little game of find out. So, step 1 was to draft a single-page notice with no personal details explaining my situation and warning any neighbors going through something similar about what the bylaws indicated and that all homeowners should immediately request a copy of the bylaws via certified mail. I provided the board's address and the language to include, which stipulated that the response from the board, even if it was a copy of the bylaws, was to be by certified mail, meaning a printed copy of the 29-page bylaws. I also encouraged anyone fighting infractions or having received a notice of intent to lien about what to do. I printed about 150 copies because that is how many houses were in the neighborhood. I roped in a few close neighbors, and we stuck a notice on about every door. Step 2 was to fight each violation individually. I drafted template language indicating that I was refuting each violation, some more boilerplate language on why I was refuting it, and the coup de grace, a final addendum formally requesting a copy of the receipt of delivery for each notice having been delivered via certified mail, as per the bylaws. I customized each one specific to the violation and copied in any specific language from the covenants, conditions, and restrictions that proved I was not in violation. I sent 23 certified letters, 22 for violations, and an extra one that was a notice of contest for the lien. Here is another little tidbit about Florida law. Homeowners associations operate under something called rebuttable presumption, meaning any request for official records had to be responded to within 10 business days. I sent the letters on a Thursday, and each letter included a request for official records, a copy of the record of delivery. They had 2 weeks. About a week and a half later, I got a very strongly worded email stating that all of the violations were valid and that I had another 25 days to comply or they would pursue the lien. I responded tersely. All communications regarding violations must be done in approved communication methods as per Article 9 Communication Methods as per the bylaws. They had a few days to draft a response and include the records I requested and mail them to me, certified and individually as per the bylaws. They never did, so I sent 23 more follow-ups indicating that they had violated the Florida Homeowners Association Act, breached the bylaws, and that I intended to pursue legal action if they did not cease and desist. I wish I could tell you I know what happened to them during that time frame or what it was like for them, but we heard from a man married to one of the board members that something like 100 of the homes requested a copy of the bylaws via certified mail. On top of that, they had active liens on several homes for violations, as well as 20 more homes that had been issued a notice of intent to lien. Everyone was now fighting them via certified mail. In the end, the Homeowners Association had a change of members that resulted from the legal fees and expenses incurred by having to respond to each violation via certified mail, drying up the reserve. It turns out that the board had not sent a single notice of violation via certified mail, and in most cases had never notified the homeowners at all, assuming the threat of a lien would just get them to pay whatever fines there were. Why were they doing this? Simple. There was an undeveloped lot of land at the front of the neighborhood facing a main road, in front of the homes of the first people to move into the neighborhood, coincidentally where most of the board lived. The developer had held on to the plot and was intending to sell it to a commercial developer, but had offered to sell it to the neighborhood at a premium. These scumbags did not want a gas station going up in front of their homes and were racking up violation fees from their neighbors to afford the purchase through the Homeowners Association. The lien on my home never materialized, and while I never admitted it was me, word must have gotten around because within 2 weeks, the developer, who had been dragging their feet for months on my complaints, did everything. My entire house was regraded on both sides, with French drains put in for added measure. The sides were completely resodded, and everything else was taken care of. I only stayed there for about 8 months total before an offer came in that made me give the finger to short-term capital gains and leave. All in all, I sent 46 certified letters. I think I spent about $350 and 2 days of paid time off. It was the best money I ever spent. Top comments. Comment. I have a friend whose hobby is fighting her homeowners association through state law. I am grateful that both my neighbors and my current homeowners association board are chill and actually useful, but finding out who the local anti-homeowners association experts are is so useful. Good job fighting the good fight. And everything I have heard about Florida makes me wonder why anyone lives there. Answer. The best way to fight a homeowners association is by getting on the board. Since I have been the president, there have been 0 fines dished out for stupid stuff. One friendly worded letter went out to a homeowner who left a full-size sectional on his front lawn for 6 months. I thought it would be reasonable to ask them to take care of that one. Comment. This is amazing. Great job. As a non-American, I really cannot fathom the reach and authority the Homeowners Association has. It sounds like a local government to me. Answer. That is basically what they are. It is meant as a civil body to manage common areas and make sure nobody paints their home some Pepto-Bismol pink and ruins property value. So think of a neighborhood with a community center and pool. The Homeowners Association would manage that. The problem is most of these cookie-cutter neighborhoods do not have common areas, and so you just get a bunch of people with too much free time who terrorize their neighbors. Comment. I had a homeowners association board, probably one person, as such things typically are, in Colorado I did not get along with. I read the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, found the dissolution clause, which could be invoked after 6 months since expired by a simple majority of homeowners present at any regularly scheduled meeting. I stacked the deck, went to the meeting, called for a vote, and got 30 of the 35 in attendance to vote in favor of dissolution. The board freaked out and claimed that was not a valid vote. I don't know what came next. I already had an offer on the house and left before the next meeting. If you like the story, subscribe to the Sneaky Pigeon channel to get more cool and interesting stories. And if you want to support us even more, like the video, write a comment, and turn on the bell to receive notifications about the latest videos. See you in the next videos. Bye-bye.